Hello and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for January 7th, 2019. I'm Scott and I am sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython full-time, which is amazing. There's other folks here as well, so we give Adafruit lots of shout-outs for their sponsorship. We hold this meeting every Monday, almost every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on our Discord channel, on the Adafruit Discord channel, which if you would like to join, everybody is welcome. You can go to the URL adafru.it/discord to get onto our Discord channel. We're in the voice channel right now, but we're typically just in the text channel. So beware of that. I'm going to turn my mic down just a little bit. Yeah, so this meeting happens every week. We do record the meeting, so if you're in the voice channel, beware that you are being recorded. The text is being recorded as well. And then the recording goes up on the Adafruit YouTube channel along with my Diode Zone account. So if you want to see it after the fact, check that out. We do take notes as well with time codes, so you can check out the notes and skim those to see what we talked about and then skip around the video if you don't want to watch the whole thing. This meeting is run in 4 parts, if I remember right. I'm a little rusty. First part is we cover the state of CircuitPython, which is then split into 2 parts, the core and the libraries, as those are the 2 primary pieces of the thing. After state of CircuitPython, we'll do hug reports, and we do that as a round robin. So I will start and then go down the list. As I'm doing the round robin, I will skip people if they're lurking. If you don't have a microphone or are unable to speak because you're in some environment where you don't want to speak, feel free to type it in and I will read that off as well. So we do hug reports as a round robin. Hug reports is a chance for you to say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing. And then after hug reports, we'll do status updates, which is done as a round robin as well, which is a brief couple minutes about what you've been working on and what you plan on working on in the coming week. That's a good way to get everybody on the same page. And then lastly, we'll have a section called In the Weeds, which is our discussion section. So any topics that we want to talk more in detail, or if people have questions that may take a while to answer, the In the Weeds section is the place to do it. If you have a topic for In the Weeds, what you can do is you can type it in the text chat. Katney, who's taking notes, or I or somebody else will snag it and put it in a list of topics for In the Weeds, so that when we get there, we've already got stuff to talk about. We don't have to wait too long for anything. So that's how the meeting is run. I'll take a time code for the state of CircuitPython and get going. So overall, so this is in the last week, even though the meeting that Katney ran, thank you, Katney, was more than a week ago. These stats are only for the last week because it's done automatically. So in the last week, we had 15 pull requests merged. We had 7 authors, Dan, Katney, Carter, Dave, Brennan, Paint Your Dragon, and Brent. So thank you all of our authors. We had 6 reviewers with that as well. Sedacious, Katney, Carter, Lydia, Dan, and Brent. We had 5 closed issues by 3 people and 7 open by 7 people. So we are a little bit of a net positive, but that's not a huge deal. Overall, if I had to summarize where we're at with CircuitPython as a project more broadly, I would say we're well into 2019 planning. I posted my opinions about what I think we should do in 2019, and a number of other people have as well. So please, everybody, if you haven't posted your thoughts about CircuitPython in 2019, I'd love for you to do that. You can do it as a text post. You can do it as a video post. Just want to get everybody's kind of different perspective on what CircuitPython is and what is still missing and what we should work on. So that would be really cool. The hope is next week we'll start to have a draft where we aggregate kind of all of those ideas and kind of agree that these are the things that are most important. Doesn't mean we won't do other stuff, just giving us as a community a focus on what we want to prioritize. And then you should see, so that will be finalized by the end of the month, and then we're going to push 4.0 stable in the next month or two. So everybody should expect that if you look at the milestones at GitHub, don't be surprised if things get moved to that 4x bucket or a 4.1 bucket, because what we're going to try to do this year is be more aggressive in staying stable. And so when we add features, we won't call it unstable. We'll just add them on to the side of CircuitPython that is already stable. So expect to see that. We'll expect to see more like middle point releases. So 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, rather than always doing a big push to 5 and a big push to 6 and a big push to 7. We'll just use those numbers for when we want to break things. Okay, that's a long-winded answer for overall. I'll cover the core now. So statistics-wise for the core, we had 2 pull requests merged, 1 author from Dan and 2 reviewers, Dan and Kattni. We had 10 open pull requests. They're in the notes if you want to see what those 10 are. Issues-wise, we had 3 closed and 6 open. So again, we're a little bit more than we were. We have 160 open issues, and there's a link to the whole issue list there. 3.1.2 was released last night, so we've had 104 total downloads for that so far. And 4.0 Alpha 5 is our unstable release, and we've had 606 total. So again, you can see that our stable releases get a lot more downloads than our unstable ones. If you want to see breakdown by board or by language, check the notes as well. Let's go on to Kattni and libraries.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So we had over the last week 13 pull requests merged, which is great. I want to call out Dave Estells for what is essentially his first library contribution. He wrote the debouncer library, and we got that merged in and added to the bundle and everything, and already updated a bunch of guides to use it. So that's really great. We had 6 authors overall, 5 reviewers. I want to say thank you to Sedacious for doing a lot of library reviewing. I have been, by the time I get to the emails, they're already merge emails before I have a chance to actually look at the library, and that's been great. So in terms of library status, we have 7 open pull requests. Some of these are long-term ones that we're working on overall. Some of them are definitely active at the moment. Feel free to take a look at any of those and post any review thoughts you may have on them. In terms of issues, we had 2 closed by 2 people and 1 opened by 1 person, leaving us at 54 open issues. Once again, some of these are great first issues if you're looking for a way to contribute. Some of them are super complicated if you're looking for a way to contribute. So all across the board there. And we don't mind having issues. It's a way for us to track what's going on and to know what kind of improvements or updates or fixes we need to do. So don't hesitate to file an issue if you find something or have some thoughts or want a feature or something like that. That it would be an excellent way to do that. The rest of the info in the notes is the status of the repos themselves, and there is a link at the right under libraries to the CircuitPython library tracking issue, which has will be updated again today, updated every week, and has the actual list of all of the repos, repo issues with the actual links to the repos underneath them. So some of those are real quick fixes, real easy things. There's something needs to one line needs to be added to a file or something like that, and it's definitely a great way to get started contributing if that's something that you're interested in doing. And that is where we are with libraries.
Awesome. Thank you, Kattni. And as a preview, thank you again for running the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just over a week ago, I guess.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. All right, let's do Hug Reports. I just gave you a preview of what Hug Reports is all about. But Hug Reports is a chance for everybody to say thank you for the work that other folks have been doing in the community. This is great for 2 reasons. 1, it's just good to acknowledge that people are doing awesome things. And 2, it's good for us to all know the things that we value. in our community. So let me get started, and then we'll go down the list. We have some noted that some people are lurking. If you are lurking and haven't let us know, please do in the text. Otherwise, we'll go around this. So I'll start. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody who made CircuitPython just work when I was gone. I was without a laptop for 2 weeks. I came back. I've gone through all my email. I've read not all of Discord because there was a lot, but a number of it in the moderation channel. And it just worked without me, which is, as a project lead, is so important to be free to step away for a couple weeks and see that everything doesn't explode or implode or whatever. So first and foremost, thank you to everybody for being awesome. I'm so excited for 2019 with everyone. So this will be really good. Specifically, everybody who did reviews, I really appreciate that. And then getting more detailed, Dan, thank you for holding down the fort for core work. I know that you and I are kind of like the two main core people, and I'd love to see us get more people doing reviews and contributions to the core in 2019. That's a spoiler for my CircuitPython 2019 post. Thank you to Katney for running the meeting while I was out, and everybody who attended. One of the first things I did when I got back was listen to the meeting. It was great to see it from that perspective of somebody who doesn't participate but listens later. I think it really works, and I hope to see it. I said at the start of last year we get it in podcast form, and we're not quite there yet. But I've talked about it a bit with Phil and Lamore, and we should see that happen this year. So that'll be good. People can listen to it on their drive and things like that. So, and then lastly, as a hug report for me, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's done CircuitPython 2019 posts so far. Again, it's really, really important and interesting to see different perspectives and different projects that people want to make. So I don't think this is in any particular order, but thank you to N. Toll, C. Grover, Deshipu, and Maddie T for posting your thoughts on CircuitPython in 2019. If you all haven't read these yet, I highly recommend it. They are in the notes, and if you want to request for that as well, I can post links into the Discord chat. So those are my hug reports. TG Techie. Okay, I'll post those. TG Techie's lurking, I think, because you're on the bus still. Just let us know when you're not on the bus, and we can buzz you in or whatever. So let's go to Brent.
Hug report to Jerry for looking over the particle stuff that I was working on this week and getting you set up with it.
Nice. All right, thank you, Brent. Carter says I think is lurking, but says in the doc group hug, welcome back and congrats to me. Lurking, but in the notes doc. C. Grover is lurking as well, so we'll go to Charles.
Oh, congratulations on your get together over your vacation, and
thank you.
Glad to see you back. And I thought I read somewhere that you had worked on the MIDI USB.
Yes.
And if so, I wish to give you a definite hug for that. It's going to be very useful.
Good. I
sort of like build musical instruments, and I like to play around with that stuff.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm again hoping to have the pull request out today for that, so should be soon. All right, Dan.
Okay. Thanks to Kevin Townsend, K-Town, who's been helping me a lot with BLE because he's a real expert. He's a book author on the subject. And I've been talking to him every week for the past several weeks about this stuff. Bill Binko, AT Makers Bill, was waiting patiently for a 3.1.2 release because he's writing a guide that would be based on a feature that needed to be added to 3.1.1. So I made a release last night. Don't feel that you need to upgrade. It's minor unless you knew those specific features. I was amazed that we had so many downloads just since last night. And also, thanks to Deshipu, he's the first CircuitPython in 2019 that I've read. I know there are others now. I didn't realize that. But I thought he spent a lot of thoughtful time on it, and that's very nice. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Let's go to Dave.
All right. Big hug. Hug report. Shout out to Katney for guiding me through the library construction and submission process and getting it in shape and getting it into the bundle. It's made it a good experience. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Let's go to Deshipu. I'm not sure if you're lurking or not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so hugs to Jaren, who helped me before the Christmas with the old OLED wing and its reset circuit problems. And also great thanks to Silasius for encouragement and for help information about how to do resin casting. Maybe I will try it soon. And to everyone who wrote CircuitPython 2019 thing, they are very interesting to read. So that's it.
Awesome. And I should say, if anybody knows of CircuitPython 2019 posts that I may not have heard of, please just let me know. We do want to aggregate them so that we can provide everybody just a list of all of them. So yeah. All right. We are going to Katney. Or Jerry says group hug to everybody, but wasn't able to make it. So Katney.
All right. So hug report to Roy for all the work on Pixel Buff. I'm super excited to see this added. Lots of rainbow videos have been posted, and they're so super fast and smooth. I want to give a hug report to Sagittac. They pointed out a number of times that people were reporting moderation things on Discord and didn't actually ping community helpers. So he pointed that out, and that was super helpful. Hug reports to everybody who reported the bot spam on Discord. There was a ton of DM spam, and without reports, we couldn't have handled it. So thank you to the community for assisting with that. Hug report to everyone who's contributed to the CircuitPython 2019 posts. We've already listed off the names, but Entol, Deshipu, Maddie T, C. Grover, Tan Newt, Scott. It's been really excellent insight into how the community sees the CircuitPython project, and we really appreciate everything everyone has had to say. Which Sedacious for the quick reviews on libraries. I mentioned this earlier. I'm getting merge emails before I even have a chance to take a look, and it's great. To Davis Sells for writing his first library. The Debouncer library looks amazing. It's going to be super useful. And we've already got a lot of projects using it, which is excellent. Probably the fastest I've seen a library go into guides. So that was very cool. And lastly, to Roy for designing me stands for the Metro and the Feather Doubler and Tripler. Both of them have header pins galore sticking out of the bottom, which are a danger zone to my desk. And Roy designed me 3D printed stands for all three form factors that will protect my desk. And they're super slim and cute, and I'm really excited. So thank you for that.
Awesome. All right. Maker Melissa is lurking. And so we'll go to Mike Barella.
Hi, guys. Happy New Year, and congratulations to Scott.
Thank you.
Many years ahead. We're hitting 35 this year.
Right. So for those of you who don't know what Mike's alluding to, I got married over the break. So that's what the congrats are for.
I want to thank everybody who's been doing their CircuitPython 2019. I want to encourage you, if you're doing that, you can just send the messages, but if you publish it like on your blog or on GitHub or some kind of public place and don't mind us sharing that, then we'll blog it up on the Adafruit blog and the Reddit CircuitPython area and other places to kind of get some exposure for your ideas, because we really like your ideas. I've read some of the ideas and cheered. So Hug reports that for the folks who have said they want kind of a DOS text mode for displays, I'm fully on board with that. You know, Scott has a lot of display work he's working on. Hug reports to you for working on that and all that you're going to be doing ahead. And
yeah, I read that and I was like, I want to do that. That's a great idea.
I know there's all kinds of great stuff. Katney for all the drivers she's been writing, and I'm going to help her let you guys know what all those have been doing, and the community. I mean, we're 1,000% dedicated to this community to make sure that you all are happy, and we're aiming for what the community wants, because that's. I posted something on the Adafruit blog about open source and how things go well and how things don't. And the best way to make things go well is the community.
Nice.
A happy, healthy community. So that's all my Hug reports.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I opened that post, I think, in a new tab, and I mean to go back and read it. On the open source business model, I think is what it's saying.
Yeah, it's on blogs.adafruit.com if people are interested.
I have it open. Let me just post it. I think that's the one you're referring to.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mike. Okay, so Roy wasn't able to make the meeting, but put notes in the doc, so I will read those off. Roy says, thanks to Katney for her never-ending patience as I blather on about my work on Pixel Buff and for her continuous encouragement. Thanks to Dan Halbert for validating that I'm not crazy with regards to strangeness when subclassing C modules. And to Tan Newt, myself, for his architectural guidance as I move forward finalizing Pixel Buff work. Yeah, happy to see the Pixel Buff stuff making progress. So thanks, Roy. And Sedacious also just dropped a comment, but isn't in here, so I'll read his as well. Sedacious says, nice big group hug to everybody. And then we'll go to Summersoft.
So just to continue the theme, thank you to everybody who's been named and hasn't done theirs yet, but for submitting feedback to the CircuitPython 2019. I think it's really cool, and to borrow a manufacturing sort of term instead of voice of customer, I consider it voice of community, which is, I think, really good to see. And then a Giganto group hug to start 2019 off. I think we're going to make it a pretty good year.
Awesome. Yeah, the idea for the community feedback was actually a Rust thing, which, yeah, if you know anything about CircuitPython community, we take all of the good ideas from Rust and just apply it to CircuitPython because it works so well. All right, TG Techie, did you want to say hug reports?
I'd love to say hug reports.
Awesome.
Big hug to Dan H and Cater for always being there to help. Also, Roy and Jerry N, for helping me with my compiling NRF UF2. It was being really weird. And a big hug to the community for the awesome work they do.
Awesome. Thank you, TG Techie.
Thank you.
Brendan, did you want to try?
Am I audible?
There we go.
Cool. Yeah, just a general group hug for everybody. Congrats, Scott.
Thank you. All right. Great. That is hug reports. Yep. I saw it. Okay. Thank you, Caddy. We're taking notes, placing it in different spots. All right. Let's go on the status updates. Status updates is kind of a software engineering thing where we, also known as a stand-up, where we kind of do around the room, or in this case, around the voice chat, discussion of what we've been working on in the last week and what we plan on working on the coming week it's a great way to just get everybody on the same page and give tips and tricks about what's going on. So we'll do that now. I'll start. 2506. So I'm back from vacation. If you didn't realize it, I was gone for 2 weeks, didn't have my laptop, turned off notifications on my work email. It was amazing. Went to Iceland, got married, had Christmas with my wife's family, which was really fun. And now I'm caught up on everything. I got back on New Year's, so I had last week to get caught up. So I think I'm caught up on email and Discord and the forums. So if I'm not, if you're aware of anything that I should have commented on, please just let me know. I'm happy to chime in. Other than that, I got USB MIDI working before I left, but needed to polish it up. I polished up the tiny USB side on Friday, and it was merged this morning, which is awesome. And I'm going to polish up the CircuitPython integration with that today and hopefully get a PR out today. So if you're chomping at the bit and want to test USB MIDI, I can get you a build that should work. And then we'll get the PR in and I will be done with that, which will be the end of all of my USB work, at least for a little while. What I'm moving on to next, we talked about a little bit already, but that's the display IO bitmap text work. So we're going to work to get grid of characters working using a monospaced font. I want to use the bitmap font format that X11 uses. I forget what it's called, BDF or something. Use those for parsing real font files out. So you should be able to just find one of those and swap it in, ideally. And I'm going to start that work tomorrow because we have some display products coming that could use that. And so text will be the top priority in terms of display IO. I do want to get to the point where we can, before I switch off display IO, I want to get it so that you can just connect up a display and have that work as well. But that is not the top priority. And then on top of that technical stuff, as you may have gotten with the theme of what I've been talking about, I want to encourage more CircuitPython 2019 posts. My goal is to have all of them out by the next meeting. So if you want to write one, please write it soon so that we can get it blogged up and share it across so that people could see it. I think what we should do is next week in the weeds, we'll have a section to kind of just talk as a community about what we see, and then we'll draft we'll have a Google Doc draft of kind of how we aggregate all of those together, and we'll do a blog post. I'll do a blog post by the end of the month that is that aggregate. Will be more like what the 2018 post last year was. And as Katney points out, this doesn't need to be a long thing. Just like any thoughts that you have about CircuitPython 2019 are welcome. There's a couple ways of going about it, whether it's just what projects do you want to build in 2019 with CircuitPython and kind of what do you need to be able to make that happen, or more technical details about like we need support for this or that or things like that, or community stuff like the CircuitPython Weekly is a little bit tough to listen to every week because it's a little bit long and not easy to go through and stuff like that. So we want all that feedback under the CircuitPython 2019 hashtag. It could be a video, it could be a blog post. I think GitHub gists or GitHub repos are a great way to do it if you don't have any social media accounts. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. But that's kind of my push right now to get us focused for our work in 2019. Okay, TG Techie, do you want to give us a status update?
Yeah, so this week I've done, the days blur. I helped HexHat a little bit, and I've been teaching some friends some Python.
Awesome.
Trying to convince them to get CircuitPython, but we'll see how that goes. Literally 2 minutes ago, the PCBs for my M4 based board came in. So when my homework's done, I'll be soldering those up. And let me turn off that beeping. And Yeah, still trying to learn C, which is a big challenge for me right now, but yeah. I'm sure it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, it just takes practice.
And that's all I can remember.
Perfect. Well, that's
okay.
That's plenty. Thank you. All right, and as always, you know where to find people for questions if you ever have them. In terms of learning C.
I will take you up on that.
Perfect. All right, let's circle around to Brennan.
So let's see. Since the last one of these I attended, I've worked a lot on just different little bits of platform detection stuff for Blinka. If you're not familiar, we have sort of extracted what we were doing to tell what single board computer you're running on into its own little Python library called Adafruit Python Platform Detect, and process for adding support to a system to Blinka now is basically detect your platform in that library and then add pen definitions to Blinka itself. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of an ongoing thing. We're going to add some more boards. People have been putting in pull requests.
Awesome.
In fact, I think Lady Ada just merged another one. So that's cool. Other than that, just a little bit of sort of standard issue hardware testing or hardware library testing on the Pi. Mm-hmm. And that's about it for me.
Awesome. Well, great work on the Raspberry Pi stuff.
Right on.
Good.
Also, I'll try and get around to a CircuitPython 2019 blog post.
Would love that. Would love that. Yeah. Thanks, Brennan. Okay, Brent.
Hello. Finishing up a guide on turning your Raspberry Pi into a single channel LoRa gateway, which will probably be up this week. Uses some CircuitPython stuff. Pretty strangely, but it does use CircuitPython, which is awesome.
Nice.
And working on something else for this week, and that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. Okay, Carter and C. Grover are lurking, so we'll go to Charles.
Well, I'm going to try something that I want to try something that should be pretty useful to those who want to play around with MIDI and Linux, and that is to see if the MIDI USB, your MIDI USB, will be recognized by as a jack device.
Mm-hmm.
For routing purposes.
Okay.
In products like Ubuntu Studio and others.
Right.
So that's another thing I'm going to try. And now that I have USB Macarena, I can reduce a lot of.
Oh, you muted yourself, Charles.
Well, I'm going to now use the USB MIDI to create the sound box for the ocarina.
Right.
So, wish me luck on that one.
Yeah, let me know if you want a test build, and I'll send you one once I get it working here, of course.
Yes. Obviously. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the help on that.
Have a good day.
You too. All right, Dan.
Okay, so recently I've been I did the 3.1.2 release last night, as I mentioned previously, and you can upgrade if you want. It doesn't matter unless you really need what's in it. And mostly I'm continuing to work on Bluetooth Low Energy. We were originally doing everything. We had a bunch of native that is written in C classes, and eventually that got rather unwieldy in terms of the amount of code I needed to implement there. Mm-hmm. And so I put a Python layer on top of that, which does a lot of grubby string manipulation work, which was total pain to do in C.
Right.
And so now I'm sort of free to actually change the lower level and leave the upper level as alone, mm-hmm. which is good because I can abstract stuff away. And so I'm continuing to work on that. And we have broadcasting work, various kinds of beacons, and now I'm working on a sort of Uart-like service, which is called Uart. That's kind of an overkill in terms of the name. But the basic idea is to send streams of characters back and forth.
Right.
And we already have something like that in the Arduino world. And once we implement it in CircuitPython, we'll be able to do a whole bunch of projects which are now Arduino only.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, robots, anything that uses the Adafruit Bluetooth app on a phone, a smartphone, for instance, will be able to use the same technique underneath.
Right.
So I hope to have that. Hopefully, I'll have something working by the end of this week or sooner. It might not allow huge streams of characters, but it'll be certainly enough to do a bunch of demos.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan. All right, Dave.
Okay, as mentioned, I spent the last little while taking my debouncer class, turning it into a library. Just finished and submitted a tutorial guide on how to use it. And I think my next undertaking will be working with the SlamTech, 360-degree RP LiDAR product that's in the shop. Getting a CircuitPython library built for that and doing an example project or two. The BLE stuff is exciting as I'm thinking of using the new NRF 52840 feather for that, at least as a second pass at the project, so I can send telemetry back to something else.
Right.
And I think that might be a good way to do it. So that's me for the time being.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Deshipu.
Okay, so I'm making kind of a break for now. I'm cleaning up the existing projects I have, making them a bit easier to contribute to and a bit better documented. So this is like a spring cleaning thing.
Right.
And I started to prototype for this text mode library so that you could do text mode like output to OLED and TFT displays easily. Basically, just a matrix of characters.
Right.
No formatting, no fancy stuff. I think that could be useful, so I started working on that, but it's early stages for now.
Do you have a link to it? I'd love to see how you've done that.
No, at the moment I only have a bunch of like disconnected demos on my disk.
Okay.
I will work on that more.
Well, I'm gonna start doing something very similar tomorrow. That's why I'm asking.
Well, okay, I can try to clean it up a bit and upload somewhere.
Yeah, I just want to see it. Let's chat after about it more.
Okay.
Given that like most of the graphics work I've done has been inspired by your early stage work, I'd love to see what you're thinking.
Okay.
And I read your CircuitPython 2019. I was like, yep, I want to do a lot of this game stuff.
Awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I can't either. It's just things take longer than I expect. But text will be really good and good place to start. And then we can optimize all of the display I/O stuff, which is not optimized yet. Okay. Thanks to Chipu. Let's go on to Katni.
Thanks. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been catching up from the holidays. We updated all of the current servo guides to use ServoKit, and then worked on deprecating various guides that are no longer current or valid or have working code or that sort of thing. Trying to clean that up so that when you're searching for guides, you find ones that are relevant and current and actually have what you need. We worked on deprecating various GitHub repos. There was a lot of libraries that we no longer supported, but the repos still existed. So we spent a lot of time cleaning that up. There's still more to go with that, but we definitely made a huge dent in it, and that was good. A lot of other stuff I can't remember. In the last few days, I updated the OLED Featherwing guide with all the wiring diagrams and usage for all the OLEDs, and the plan is to put that page in other guides so that it's all the stuff in one place and we're not trying to keep track of 10 different things. And I started the guide for the product guide for the Grand Central. This week, today's Library Monday. It may end up being Library Tuesday and Library the rest of the week. We have a lot to catch up on. I need to update the tracking lib, and I can still use help with having a release party. We updated all the readmes, so right now that AdaBot check shows pretty much every library, which makes it not very useful for using as a check to know when we need to make releases, so we need to go through and do that. This week I'm going to finish up my CircuitPython 2019 post. I'm going to be continuing work on and finishing the guide for the Grand Central. I'm going to be creating and then completing the guide for the prop maker Featherwing. We don't have just a specific guide for that yet that explains the board and what it can do, and we want to explain how to use everything in CircuitPython because it's got a lot of very cool stuff. There's still some servo guides that aren't live, and some servo guides that haven't been deprecated. And so this week we're probably going to try and just clean up the rest of that project and get everything live and make sure that the guides that are no longer current are marked as such so people know. I'm going to be getting familiar with exporting images from EagleCAD, which is new. And then potential stuff is working on mirroring the OLED guide pages into the other OLED guides. There's one final GitHub repo that we archived, but we need to go back and archive it properly. And then there's more old guides to deprecate as we go and as we update the new ones. So depending on how much time I have this week, those are a few things that I may or may not get to. As well, which I didn't write down here, I'm going to be testing Cookie Cutter. And we created a test repo for the sole purpose of being able to test like PyPI deployment and that sort of thing without waiting for a release cycle on a given library. We need to make sure that the changes we make to Cookie Cutter actually help and don't just make more work for us. So I will be testing that this week. And we'll be getting some updates in that. That means that just so everyone who writes libraries knows, Cookie Cutter is going to become a little more involved. You will have to provide more information on creation of your library files, but it eliminates work later. So we'll update the documentation to show you everything that you need to have ready ahead of time. So there won't be any confusion, but that's something that we're going to be doing. And that's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kattni. Okay, Maker Melissa is lurking, so we'll go to Mike.
Hi, all. I've been in and amongst all the Adafruit stuff. I do want you guys to know that the NRF 52840 feather has been in and out of the shop as people snag it up. And so is the Grand Central. So there's some pretty powerful CircuitPython hardware that's now getting into people's hands. So if you really want to get a hold of them and it's out right now, sign up on the Adafruit site under that part number and you'll get a notification so you can go ahead and buy one. So a lot of us are doing documentation on those products and guides and everything. I've actually Dave Estelle's guide that he just talked about, I'm going through, and that hopefully will be active before Ask an Engineer. And I've been going through a lot of other guides, my own and others, making sure we have up-to-date information for you all. And also I've been involved in the blog post and I mentioned earlier the CircuitPython Reddit subreddit. And if you don't know what that is, if you're more of a Redditor than using some of the other social media, if you go to r/CircuitPython in Reddit, you will see that we have created our own subreddit specifically for CircuitPython. Now, if you follow all the other social media, Twitter and the blogs and everything, a lot of the content will be the same. But if you like to digest your information on Reddit, you'll probably be able to see this and get your fill of CircuitPython. But we still feel that to get the best overall snapshot of CircuitPython news is to sign up for the newsletter, which we all are involved with also. So the whole CircuitPython team, we all pour our hearts out into this weekly newsletter. It's full of goodness, and it's put out Wednesdays, usually by about 11 a.m. Eastern Time, US. And if you want to sign up for that, if you're interested, you can go to adafruitdaily.com. Not adafruit.com. It's totally separate from Adafruit, so there's no mailing list confusion. There's no spam. There's no nothing. It's a simple on-off whenever you want it. So it's adafruitdaily.com. You can sign up for the Python on Hardware newsletter, and that's the one where you get all the goodness. So it's been like the fastest growing of all of Adafruit's newsletters. It's pretty much the snapshot on all the Python that's going on in hardware right now. I don't think anybody else is focusing on this on such a weekly basis as we are. So, right. And again, if anybody has news or comments or something, post it on the social media, the CircuitPython social media. We'll pick it up and we'll see about putting it in. But it's a challenge for us because there are so many things going right now. I mean, not just Adafruit things, but the whole Python on hardware thing is like increasing exponentially. So oftentimes there are things we don't catch. So again, as part of this community effort, if somebody catches something cool, just note it to the team, and we'll see about letting everybody else know.
Totally.
So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
And if anybody likes writing newsletter content, let us know. We're always looking for people to help contribute to.
Definitely.
All right. The next three are folks that weren't able to make it. So Summersoft, sit tight. I know you always do. First, we have Roy, who says, use the holidays to sprint on PixelBuff. Tested subclassing the C PixelBuff class in Python with limited success. Did some benchmarking to determine what would be the best way to implement auto-write. Finalized the C module and fixed bugs. Got the build working again for all targets and made Travis CI happy, which is no small feat. Congrats, Roy. And lastly, resumed work on the Python PixelBuff implementation. The reason there's two implementation is that the Python PixelBuff implementation can be used before we have the C support checked in. So for previous versions of CircuitPython. All right. The next person is Sean Heimel, who says, working on porting UF2 and CircuitPython to the SparkFun SAMD 2021 Mini this week. So expect to see more SparkFun support, which is awesome. And lastly, in terms of the folks that weren't able to make it in this block, Sedacious says, I just sent off a new breakout board for the INA 260 to Ush Park, and now I'm working on getting a Huzzah breakout and AM2315 talking to Adafruit IO to log temp and humidity for my friend's fancy organic mushroom farm. I will write a CircuitPython 2019 post, but I'll have to figure out where to put it, as I don't actively use any social media platforms at the moment. And happy belated holidays, everyone, and happy hacking in the new year. So thank you, Sedacious. And let's go to Summersoft.
All right. So for last week, I did, as Katney alluded to earlier, some template fixes in Cookie Cutter, and as well as adding some PyPI templates in there. See how that goes. And then I also finally jumped back into FrequencyN. I'm working through the logic and math to calculate a period using the new non-interrupting counter method. I started to notice that the numbers were jumping as I interacted with the REPL. And then I realized that it was my fault because I was assigning the frequency value every time the reference counter would check for values, and I wasn't limiting it to anything. So I put it in there to check on the external interrupt flag. And then after working with that for a few cycles, I kind of then realized, well, that's going to limit it to the reference TC's interval, because the flag will only get cleared by the reference TC. So anything in between is going to get missed. So I'll keep pushing forward on that for as we go. And then I saw your reply to Scott, your reply to Notro's PR, and I kind of sat around and thought about that for a little while. I think, you know, for them needing edge detection, that's easily configurable, but I don't know how they're using their interrupt handler function, and then how it'll, from a combination standpoint, how it works. Because I'm currently using level so that it minimizes the event latency. Because when you do edge detection, it adds those 4 or 5 extra cycles, you know, before the event gets sent off. So, but still thinking about it, you know. So for this week, I'll keep dialing frequency in, and as Kattni, that comment wasn't if you don't get to it this week, you don't get to it this week. If we push it off the next week, it gets pushed off. But any adjustments to cookie cutters as we test that.
Awesome. I'm glad you're just aware of the Notro PR. I think there is a way to do both. It's just like he wants to count edges, and you want to count edges over time. So it seems pretty similar.
No, I agree, and that's why I was like, yeah, no, that's a good point. So that's why I started thinking about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for spending your brain power on it. I'll leave it up to you and Notro.
I'll also leave it up to anyone who wants to think of how much brain power I have.
You have plenty.
It's less than you think.
Well, you use it quite efficiently then. If that's the case. Okay, that's it. I think we got everybody for status updates. So we'll go to In the Weeds. In the Weeds is the section where we talk about anything that we want to talk about. No constraints on how long we want to talk or whatever. So if you have topics for In the Weeds and haven't put them in the doc or in the text channel, please do that now. We've got one, otherwise we'll be out of here shortly. So I'll kick it back over to Summersoft for his question.
Right. So also, Kattni alluded to earlier, with all the releases that we have to do with the change to the TravisCI.com migration. A few weeks ago to maybe a few months ago, you had made a comment that we should make releases easy or /easier.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to get a little deeper on what you meant by that statement.
Well, I think was it in a discussion whether we should automate the releases?
It may have been.
Because I think the reaction to having this check is that we want to just automatically release stuff, and I'm very wary of that, because I feel like whenever something is released, except for the bundle doesn't count, because the bundle is a bundle of released stuff. Right. But in general, I think like a human should think, is this releasable, and say yes to it. But one thing we could do to make it easier, like as far as I know, library releases are easy. You just draft a new release and then publish it, and then all of the artifacts are built automatically. Right. The one thing I could think of making it easier is if we wrote a bot that drafted the release for us, and then we just had to click a button. We could do that. Okay. But I think actually for the being behind on the release stuff because of the README, I was actually thinking maybe we just want to pick a time like this week or tomorrow or something, and just like we'll jump in for an hour, and as long as we're just like in the voice chat making sure we're not duplicating work, I think we should just hammer it out together. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Sorry, like I said, I was lurking, but my ears kind of perked up because it sounded like you guys were talking about something I was also thinking about relative to the whole release thing.
Yep.
So I'm sorry if you mentioned this already, but my idea was like somehow thresholding the time delta and not have it just be like, hey, you're behind by 5 months or 1 second, it doesn't matter, but somehow only highlighting ones where, like a week or 2 weeks has gone by.
Right.
And you haven't pushed a release.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable idea.
I think it should still highlight all of them. I like the idea of having the time like in parens next to the link or something to that effect. Because there are still times where, yeah, we didn't release it 24 hours ago, but it is like a super massive bug fix that we should at least be aware of the fact that we didn't release it.
Right. Yeah, I think
So
we could just...
That's my thoughts on that.
We could just bucket it. Like, here's the things that haven't released in a month or longer. Here's the things that have been under a month, and here's the things that are like a week out.
Right. That was kind of my idea too. I was thinking some fancy UI where with colors and bold or font sizes or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure what would work best here, because there's all kinds of reasons why you can get behind, and some of them you're fine with. But I would think something that's hasn't been done in like a week, or there's some threshold of like a week or 2 weeks where like really there's that something should be done by that point. There's really no reason why a release shouldn't have been done for something like that.
Right.
I would think. So that would give you like a threshold where ones on that list definitely need someone to go look at. Whereas on the current list, 90% of them could be being flagged just because they're 1 day behind. And
right.
We know that, and we're fine with that, and we're going to get to it. So it's kind of like filtering out the noise is kind of what needs to be done.
Ideally speaking, we stay caught up, and so the check only shows us 2 or 3 at a time. We don't typically update every library.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it should be doable. Summersoft, what do you think?
I agree, totally doable. And Cater, I wasn't trying to do your in the weeds. Just
oh yeah, no problem. Like I said, I was lurking, and like I heard this chatter. I was like, oh wait, I kind of had, because I think I pinged you about this earlier this week, if it would be possible. I was just kind of thinking out loud, and it was because it was something I think came up in the forums where it was yet again, we had just missed pushing out a release. Someone was like, it's not working. We're like, wait, we fixed that. And I went and looked, and it's like, oh, we just didn't push a release.
Right.
And it was totally caught. It was totally caught on the Adabot, but it was, one of 121 or something like that in that list.
Right.
So, and I think it's, as I said when you asked me earlier this week, it's completely doable. I think the only things to discuss are how do you format it? Just from a delivery standpoint. When you have Adabot run, do you just put it in parens next to it, or do we extend the internal tracking of where the errors are and turn it into a dictionary, and then add another sortable field, and that way we can sort it further based on how long it's been, or any of those number of options. And then the other part that I pointed out to Cater was, where do we draw the line? Like, kind of a feature creepy sort of thing. Like, where do you stop saying you don't have to pay attention to anything below this? You know what I mean?
I don't think we do. I think that we still keep every unreleased library in the list. It's just a matter of how we want to sort it.
Right.
I think the easiest way to implement it is to just split the list into like 3 lists. Like, just have 3 errors that you return based on time bucket. And then you don't have to add any features for display or anything. You just end up having like 3 different warnings. One is more than a month, one is under a month, and one is under a week. That sort of thing. And then it's just in the spot that's actually doing the check that you need to change.
And I think it may be iterative on what works here. This is like one of those devils is in the details thing,
Oh,
where we have the
totally.
general idea, we all agree something should be done, but there's no obvious answers to what the right interface should look like, etc.
Right.
So I don't know. Let's just try something, and we will let that roll for a couple months and see how it works.
Sounds good to me.
And I think something along the lines of what Scott's suggesting is probably a good first pass.
So have it spit out a separate list or a separate file. Are you thinking separate files as well?
I'm literally just thinking like a different error. You know how Adabot says like, oh, if this is true, then add this error to this repo. Like, I would just replace the single one with 3 different ones based on the time.
Okay, yeah, because so the release check right now just checks for if there have been commits,
right,
since the last release. So you're saying just expand that to
like check the time of the oldest commit, and based on that, the difference, bin
but that's
bin
kinda,
it into 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do it. It's the tricky part is unfortunately the compare API doesn't give you a list of commits.
Do you have a list of? Oh, that's right, and you don't have the previous release either, do you?
Well, we get the release, but then I use the compare API just
to know if anything's
know if it's up to date or behind.
But if you have the release, there's a time on the release, right? And you could just do.
There is the publish date, yes.
Yeah, I would just do a diff between now and the publish date then.
Yeah, that might work. Okay.
Right.
All right, so just expand that one. Okay.
Thank you so much. I feel like you're like Adabot's best friend. It's great.
She's mine. We'll put it that way.
It can go both ways.
Cater, do me a favor and put an issue in on the Adabot repo, just so I have some sort of accountability.
Okay, I can do that. And you want it on the Adabot one. Yeah, because it's like a new feature for Adabot. Gotcha. I'll do that.
Thanks, sir.
Awesome. And I haven't seen anything else come up to talk about in the weeds, so that's it. Let's wrap up. It's been 1 hour and 2 minutes, so that's perfect timing. Okay, this has been the CircuitPython Weekly for January 7th, 2019. Thank you, everybody who was able to make it, and thank you to those who are listening to this after the fact. This video, an audio recording, will go on YouTube and Diode Zone later today, along with notes. So if you want to check out what happened in the meeting, this is the end of the meeting if you're hearing this. Next time, yeah, I will do that. Next time, if you don't want to listen to the whole meeting, you can always check the notes, and there's time codes in there so you can skip around depending on what you're wanting to listen to. Katney, I think Katney is the anonymous alligator, mentioned. So next week, I'd really like for us to all discuss the CircuitPython 2019 posts that came up. So if you haven't done one already, please do one. The ones that have been posted so far have been really, really interesting. You can do that as a gist on GitHub. You can do it as a blog on your website or your blog or whatever. Anywhere that's publicly accessible would be great. If you do that, we are trying to keep track of all of them by having an email. So after you do that, please post the link to email the link to CircuitPython 2019 at Adafruit.com. That makes sure that we'll get access to it. What we'll do is we'll blog it up on the Adafruit site, so expect to see some traffic there, and we'll add it to the list of all the different ones. So yeah, check those out. Again, this meeting happens on our Discord channel. You can go to by going to adafru.it/discord. We are in the text channel all week, so please join us there and chat us up if you want. We are in the voice channel Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. Most of us are in the U.S., so if there is a U.S. holiday, we may move it. So check the pinned messages for any updates on when we are going to actually do the meeting. I think that's it. So with that, thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you.